Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, jam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, cam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 139th edition of the TFS Pod. First and foremost, we'll start off 9/11, 22 years ago. Cannot believe that was that long ago. Darkest day in American history. Still, people are still passing away from it, which is tragic. Obviously, just a terrible event, and we honor those who passed away and fought to save lives. So thank you to those, and prayers with those families, remembering their family members that passed away. Well, since we talked last Monday, there's sure been a lot of stuff that's come out. NFL is in full swing at the Bills-Jets game just kicked off. Week 1's almost in the books. College football, week 2 done. Michigan State back in the news again for the wrong reasons. We'll get to that later. Probably be some choice language, so I apologize for that in advance. But we will start with the podium as we always do. I'll go first. This has been a topic of conversation within the NCAA. I don't think we've talked about it, but I thought I'd bring it up because it's ridiculous. So there's this guy, receiver for North Carolina. His name is Tez Walker. Pretty good player. He was really good for Kent State last year, all MAC player. He had started his career at an HBCU. In 2020, season got canceled. He transfers to Kent State. Plays there for a couple years, and then decides he wants to transfer to North Carolina to play with Drake May, and probably get his pro career leg up and try to get drafted in the upcoming 2024 draft. The NCAA says, nope, you transferred once already. You're not going to transfer again and be eligible this time right away. There's some cases about it, meetings, whatever, keeps getting pushed, and he was ineligible for the first game. And then they had the hearing Thursday, and they said he's ineligible to play. Screw you, NCAA, once again, just getting in the way. You do nothing of use except for, well, actually you don't do anything of use. It's beside the point, but just another stupid rule. Like, I get it, two-time transfer, whatever. This guy didn't, it's not like he was, some of these guys play at 5 schools and they get to transfer whenever they want and play because they're graduates, whatever. BS. These guys are trying to get closer to home and go to college closer to home because of sick family members, issues at home, whatever. They don't let them, but they let these guys that go to Michigan, Ohio State, go right away. Joey Hauser's another example. He transferred because the coach got fired, wanted to get out, couldn't play right away. It's just ridiculous. There's no point in the NCAA even being a thing anymore. I bet by 2035 they won't even be a thing anymore. It'll be gone completely. It'll all be its own entity. But good Lord, NCAA, you have issues out the wazoo, and this is just another prime example of it. I feel bad for this kid and his family, really. Sucks.
They don't have the student athlete's best interest in mind. And the thing is in this case, he didn't play at the first school.
No.
So
touch the field.
You look at just the facts. Okay, I get it. If he went and played somewhere and then played somewhere else and then wanted to play a third place, no, I get it. You got to draw the line. But he did not play. He may have transferred there, but he did not get a chance to play. So that's the fact, or that's where he started, but they didn't get a chance to play. Facts are facts. He never played it down at that school. He should be allowed to play. I get there are rules, but then these are logical exceptions, and the NCAA makes no logical exceptions. For my podium, Ryan talked a little bit about it. I'm going to stay a little bit off sports, although I can correlate it back. And I remember 9/11 like it was yesterday. It was 22 years ago, so I was 28 years old. Ryan was 2. Get a call from Kristen when I was working for Amway, then actually called Quickstar. hey, did you turn on the news or did you check the news? There was a plane that hit the World Trade Center. They think it might have been a commuter plane. I'm like, no, that's weird. So immediately I start to go to like Fox, USA Today, whatever. Then all the sites are locked up, and I'm like, oh boy, this is much bigger than this. So I told a coworker about it. We went down and we knocked on the conference room door where there was a meeting going on and just said, hey, sorry to interrupt, but this is what we heard. Can we flip on the TV? And we flipped it on in time to see the second plane hit. We saw, the NBC correspondent reporting from the Pentagon when that got hit. We saw the towers collapse and sat there and watched, over and over and over. And I still to this day watch the shows, even though I've seen them, just because it's so mind-boggling to me that it happened. And then it's even more mind-boggling that we have morons in society today who make January 6th out to be a bigger thing than that, when January 6th was a manufactured thing. So piss off to you people, because the people who gave up their lives, the people on Flight 93 that took that flight down so it wouldn't hit another civilian area or the Capitol or something like that, the firefighters, the 343 New York finest that sacrificed their lives, the police officers, the paramedics who died going up the stairs, to save people's lives. And there were countless stories of people whose lives were saved. My own financial planner was actually in the World Trade Center that day, and like his second day of the job and training, and got out. Think of the lives changed and the way the world has changed. And I put on LinkedIn today that give me back the United States that existed in the days, weeks, months, and even almost like a few years afterwards. We were brought together. We were molded by this event. And today couldn't be more divisive, more anti-religious, more ungodly than at any time in my 50 years on this earth. And it's sick and it's disgusting. And it's a day like today, and remembrance makes me proud to have been part of America. And I want to get us back there. I think about how, President Bush, whether you liked him or not, went out there and threw the first pitch, security be damned, because he didn't know what was going on still in the world. At the World Series, a week or so later, threw a strike over the heart of home plate. What it was like to be in football stadiums after that. And the feeling of patriotism and the feeling of what it was like to be a part of a country that was together and molded by this tragedy. And now we just have all this divisiveness, and it's gross and it's disgusting, and it's rearing its heads in all aspects of society. And we'll get to a not at all related, but kind of an example of how society's gone to hell in a handbasket a little bit later in the podcast.
All right. Great. Love it. Flag of the week. There's some different stuff we could do. We're going to throw the flag on Michigan resident Mike Tirico. So you all may know him. We don't know if he's black, whatever he is. I don't know, black, Italian, whatever he is. This dude is the Sunday Night Football, whatever, main guy. He's the new Al Michaels, whatever. He comes out after the Lions game and says, there should be an asterisk by this win because Travis Kelce didn't play. Hey, Mike, shut the
Chris Jones
F up, dude.
Injuries happen,
Injuries happen in sports. Am I ever going to apologize for winning a game? No. Absolutely not. And Aaron Rodgers is hurt on TV as I say this, grabbing his knee. That's lovely. But back to the podcast. Mike, shut up. You're a Michigan. You know how much this meant to Detroit, the people of Michigan, for the Lions to be on Thursday Night Football. The hype, train growing. We win this game, and you say this crap
against the defending Super Bowl champion at their place.
Shut your mouth.
Celebrating the Super Bowl, dropping the banner. And I'm telling you, there are asterisks then with every single game that's played in every sport.
When the Giants lost because it was raining, like what?
Yeah,
shut up, dude.
Yeah, like
done with your
people
crap.
Don't think before they talk. That is 100% for sure.
Yeah, not great. All right, 4 downs time. Week 2 review. We can start in the Big Ten, then kind of cycle out, I guess. So we'll start Indiana State. Don't care about that one really. Kansas and Illinois. We came into the season thinking Illinois had a good defense. Boy, were we wrong. They got torched again. Kansas Beats them pretty good in Lawrence. Illinois struggling, man. It's just 1-1 could very well be 0-2. They're just not great on defense. And Brett Bielema's usually the calling card: a good defense, good offensive line.
Their offense, I think, is okay. They're missing those NFL guys that went. Probably more so than I gave credit for. Yeah, and their coordinator, who's obviously Purdue's coach. I didn't pick them in my preseason prognostications or last week to win that game, but they looked pretty bad for a good chunk of it. They made a little bit of run there to kind of make it somewhat of a game, but yeah, fortunately for them, I don't think there's. Well, no, actually, I take that back. They play Penn State this week, so it doesn't get any easier.
It's at home, but just not a great showing for Illinois. They got to get off the mat. Ohio State, Youngstown State. Ohio State didn't cover again.
I didn't see a
35-7. I think Harrison played pretty decent. I think McCord played a little better, but still, you should be beating that team by a lot more than that. But whatever. Penn State dismantled Delaware, put up a ton of points again.
63 spot.
They can score, man. They're good. Purdue, Virginia Tech, didn't see much of that. They had that long delay. Purdue gets the win.
Fun fact on that one, Purdue, first win at an ACC school since 2003.
That's crazy. That's literally crazy. But good for Purdue, got the first win in the season, broke through. Colorado, Nebraska.
I don't think that game was as close as the score showed.
Nebraska, guess what? It doesn't matter who your coach is. You're cursed. You're cursed.
Not cursed, you're garbage.
Your quarterback sucks. You go in the portal and get this guy that has his eyes 10 feet apart. Can't throw. He fumbled twice, threw 2 picks. I mean, they're garbage. They're complete garbage.
Yeah, that's like Matt Rule is no doubt probably going to do a good job there, but not until he gets guys in there that can play the way that he wants to play. I mean, yes, transfer portal helps that. Obviously, Deion got 80 new guys out of the transfer portal, but like not everybody's going to be able to do that. You're certainly not going to be able to do that as Matt Rule. Deion Sanders is a special character to be able to do that. So it's going to take time. And one thing I know for sure is Nebraska fans will be patient because they've been being patient. They just want a winner back, and they're probably all ruining the day that they ran Frank Solich out when all he did was win 9 and 10 games every year.
I mean, seriously.
Bo Pelini was kind of a cock-knock.
Yeah, well, they won 9 games every year with him.
That's true.
Michigan did not cover against UNLV again. I mean, JJ's putting up good numbers, but their running game hasn't been as good. I don't think either rusher has reached 100 yards yet. Odd, but, I mean, they're playing high school teams, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Big Ten East went 7-0 this weekend against
Iowa. Wins against Iowa State. Can't score still. One of their touchdowns by their defense still haven't. They're averaging 23 points a game or whatever. Through 2. Looks like you might be fired there, Brian. Terrible.
No way. And in that game, Ferentz, coach, congrats, 200 wins now.
Yeah, wow.
Pretty remarkable.
Pretty crazy.
The dean of Big Ten coaches.
Yeah. And UTEP, Northwestern, we both said that UTEP was going to win, and Northwestern actually kind of blew them out, which was interesting. I didn't watch any of it.
They were down early, and then I think they outscored them, whatever the final score was, to 7 the rest of the way. And it was, I look back, I picked Northwestern in the preseason to win that game, but last week I said no way they had a chance because just how poorly they played against Rutgers. So good on them. I don't know that that's going to really translate to much more. You've got, who do you have this week? You have Duke, so no, it's not going to happen. 20-point dog in that game, so
yikes,
probably not. Maybe Howard in week 7.
Wisconsin goes to Pullman and plays like crap. I told you that was coming. Yeah. 2 years in a row, lost to Washington State.
Made a late run, but buried themselves early.
They're not very good. The Big Ten's not very good. I'm sorry. The
Big Ten West is
good.
Horrible.
It's not good. Charlotte was beating Maryland at half, looked pretty good. Then Maryland kind of turned it on. Didn't cover, though. Minnesota hardly covered against Eastern. Didn't look great in the first half. Kind of turned it on as well. Then Rutgers beats Temple. Didn't watch any of that.
Handled them pretty well.
Then Michigan State, Richmond. Michigan State covered. I made the spread at 24.5 because it was never out until like the time of the game, and it was 29.5 or whatever. Win by 31. Offense looked a lot, more smooth after the first drive there. Oh boy, they were getting the cart for Rodgers.
Yeah, they started. Michigan State. Noah Kim started 0 for 3 in that game, and only one incompletion the rest.
He was
of the
Big
game,
Ten Offensive Player of the Week,
deservingly so. Because last week I was, Tuesday night, Monday night, whenever it was. I think we did the Monday. We did the pod on Monday, and I was watching about how on the BTN Week 1 show. They didn't say a thing about Michigan State last week over Central. They didn't put Kim up there with new quarterbacks who threw for over 200 yards. They did no coverage of Michigan State last week. I would imagine that they did this week for all the wrong reasons. But Kim leads the Big Ten in passing yards after 2 games, and Carter leads the Big Ten in rushing yards after 2 games. So you've got the number 1 quarterback and the number 1 running back in the Big Ten as of now playing at Michigan State. Rubber meets the road this week, but probably the most telling thing that I heard, and we kind of brought it up a little bit in the podcast last week with regard to Keon Coleman, who had another highlight reel play, at least one for Florida State. I think it was Antonio Gates. They were talking to him in the post game about the nice pitch and catch touchdown that he had. First career catch at Michigan State, leads to a long touchdown. And he said one statement that rang true with me, and the reason why Michigan State has to do whatever it can to keep Courtney Hawkins: no block, no rock.
Yep.
And I know that Keon Coleman went for money, and he went to go play for a bigger time program, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm telling you, you watch that guy, he does not block, but he still gets the rock because he's good. But that's not going to translate in the NFL, because you need to be able to block in the NFL too. So, look, I think Michigan State's skill players have settled in nicely. Concern is if Berger, who was in a boot at the game, and hopefully that was precautionary and he's not really out, because while in particular Prim had more burst and wiggle, he fumbled after Simmons fumbled, and with Mangum still out, that's not, because Carter
could be back this week, but
hopefully he is, because you need 2 backs. You just do. You need 2 backs, whether it's because of injury or just to give a guy a blow or whatever. Carter's the real deal, though. He picks up the blitz. He's pretty good pass catcher,
nice,
but Berger is a very good complement to him, so I'm hoping that he's not out long term. Defensively, look, it's Richmond, but minus giving up what was that? It was off of a turnover.
Both of the points were off of turnovers.
Fumbles,
scoop
right?
6 and then short field.
So
against the backup defense,
right? And the defense secondary continued to be thumpers, rotating a lot of bodies on the front. 7 sacks. So if you're in the stadium and you care, you
get some
go
stacks,
get your IHOP within 3 days afterwards. The nice thing is it's anywhere in the state of Michigan, not just in the Lansing area. So if you can deal with the sawdust pancakes, they're free. You get a stack with 3 sacks, and Michigan State had 7.
3 in the first quarter.
13 tackles for loss in that game too. So, and then other Kim, not Noah, nails the 52-yarder off the crossbar, but still 52-yarder. I think. Well, I had forgotten Jack Stone hit one 51 yards last year against Penn State, but I couldn't think of another time where Michigan State had
I think that was the
that.
longest kick since Michael Geiger in 2016. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been
That's
a while.
when I was in high school.
And, kickoff after kickoff is a touchback, which is great. So far. But rubber meets the road this week. We'll get to that, in the second down. But a couple of the thoughts that I had. Hey, Bud Light, you're a little too late with the NFL and college party ads, so get out of my face with those when I'm watching TV. So here's a rhetorical question for you, Ryan. Is Texas A&M a fraud again?
Yes. Jimbo Fisher is a piece of crap coach. And guess what? I forgot about this until today. He has 2 scumbags as his coordinators. Bobby Petrino, he hooks up with cheerleaders / receptionists.
Motorcycles.
And DJ Durkin, a player killer, is his defensive coordinator.
Yeah, well,
Lovely.
just desserts for Tamu. All right, another question for you. Too much Dion?
Yeah, there's a little too. I mean, College Game Day is going to Colorado State next week. I get it. He's a legendary player. He, is a great personality. Whatever. He's excited, but this is too much.
And it's also making it. And I think even Dion would say making it a little bit too much about him and not the program.
I mean
he's got an ego.
Shador is a good player, really good quarterback. Travis Hunter's really good. They have some nice pieces, but. Good Lord! I mean, I don't think they're going to make a bowl game still. I mean, they have to. The Pac-12 looks pretty damn good. Honestly, probably the best. It looks better.
And they
than,
beat TCU. Okay, fine. They were a national runner-up last year, but are they that caliber again this year? No. Nebraska, are they good? No. So, okay, they're 2-0. Great. They have won, only a couple games last year? One game last year. So, all right, great. They got donors up. They got sellouts. They got all this stuff. Deion's got the hype going. They're going to, I'm sure, rail Colorado State, but then they play Oregon here in a couple weeks. That's when the rubber meets the road. Which is what's going to happen for Michigan State this week against Washington under lots of other different circumstances too. So I think it's too much. Like, it's typical of the media, right? Like, they glom onto the story and they beat it until it absolutely dies, and then they choke the rest of the air out of it. And it's just like, it's like that's been played. Like, come on. There's other things in college football other than one guy. Like, it's other things other than the SEC, which. Speaking of which, now this is SEC on SEC, future SEC on current SEC crime, but
Texas is back.
Is Texas better than Alabama, or was that a one-game deal?
No, Texas is for real. They are fast.
What are you thinking is Arch
Ewers
Manning?
Is really good.
Because Arch Manning sitting there probably thought he might play this year a little bit.
Well, it's his next year because Ewers is going to be a first-round pick if he continues on. I mean, he has improved dramatically. He looks way better.
Yeah, he's living up to all that NIL hype when he left high school
Ohio State
early.
probably wishes they had him now, huh? Good Lord.
Yeah, funny, because had he stayed at Ohio State, obviously he'd be the
is.
QB there. So he'd be QB1 either way, wherever he is. But, yeah, that's an interesting perspective for sure from that. Let's see what other big games were. How about Peyton Thorne? Didn't he have like a dud game against a bad Cal team?
for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble.
I mean, that feels very last year like.
I mean, Auburn's not very good. And Hugh Freeze said, like, if he isn't cleaned up, he's out, basically. So.
Yeah, Utah with 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes to come back and win at Baylor, who lost to Texas State the week before.
Baylor, yikes.
So,
double yikes.
Yeah.
Fright night.
So it's
I'm trying to think if there are any other big games.
Really good stuff going on in college football.
There have been some. Tulane, Ole Miss beat them pretty good without their quarterback. Tulane is out, but Oregon, Texas Tech, that was a good game. Backdoor cover by Oregon on the scoop 6 or whatever at the end of the game. Crazy. You see at LSU's stat line, they won 72-10. Daniels had 5 touchdown passes in the first half. Good Lord.
That's a good little bounce back.
App State almost got North Carolina again. Just so close, but so far away. That's really it, I think, from this past week.
All right, before second down, let's get a word from our second down / Big Ten segment sponsor, Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports sponsorship, endorsement strategy, program assessment, contract negotiations, event activation, and post-campaign measurement. Visit norrissportsgroup.com to learn more today. Second down, baby.
All right, let's go a little week 3 preview here. All right, let's just jump.
How did we do last week?
I beat you. We both didn't do great. I went 10-5. You went 8-7. So actually not terrible, but
I did win one of my parlays on.
I'm up on you now by 1 point through 3 weeks of guessing. All right, week 3, Big Ten slate. There's no newsflash. There's no good non-con games this weekend. It's pretty dud.
Oh, Michigan State, Washington.
Well, but it's not even. Most people can't even watch it.
It's on Peacock.
And then week 4 is a delicious slate. Tons of very good games. But we'll stick with week 3 here. Friday night, lights, College Park, Maryland, Virginia, Maryland, the old ACC battle.
Virginia lost to James Madison.
They came back, but they lost. Yeah.
Well, they blew a lead late.
13.5 is the spread. I don't think Maryland's that good. I think UVA loses by 13. They cover it.
Yeah, I think UVA is going to cover because they're going to be salty from blowing it against James Madison and, finally making a chance to get a win after a pretty lengthy losing streak. But I think they're going to lose, but they'll cover.
Penn State, Illinois, 14.5 is the spread. I think Penn State absolutely demolishes Illinois in this crap defense that they have. I think it's going to be like 41-14.
Now, remember this.
Illinois has played them well.
beat them in 7 overtimes a couple
Was
years
at Penn
ago.
State,
At
yep.
Penn State. This is at Illinois, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expects Illinois to win because Illinois laid an egg against Kansas.
It would be hilarious if they won.
I think Illinois has a pretty decent offense. I think their defense is definitely a work in progress.
Altmaier's pretty solid.
So you think Penn State's going to cover that
Yeah,
by far?
14.5, yes.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Illinois is going to lose by 14, so they're going to cover that spread. I think they're going to rise to the occasion. They do in a game or two every year, and Penn State lately has been kind of that game where they rise up. Penn State,
you're right.
A few years ago, Penn State had way more talent than they do. Illinois has more talent than they did then. Penn State's offense is definitely scary against Illinois' defense, but I think they'll shore it up a little bit, and I like Illinois to cover in that game.
Straight up here, Louisville, Indiana, in Lucas Oil Stadium. Indiana's dog water. Louisville, Braum going against his old rival. Making the trek north to Indy. I'm going Louisville for sure.
Louisville, yeah.
Indiana's not very good. Georgia Southern versus Wisconsin. 16.5 is the spread. I think that's Helton's the coach at Georgia Southern. They beat Nebraska last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to happen this year. I think Wisconsin has a bad taste in their mouth. I think they cover 16.5.
I think they get a bounce back. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much more than that. I could see them winning by like 17, maybe 20.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern's decent to be getting 16 and a half at Wisconsin. Buffalo was 28.5 point dog there. So, I think they'll cover that. I think it's bounce back.
All right. This is a decent game, actually. Minnesota at North Carolina. I just don't. I don't see it with Minnesota. I don't think they're great. I think Fleck's an okay coach.
Their defense is good, which will keep them in the game.
Drake's
going to have to.
Good. He's too good. North Carolina straight up in this one.
Yeah, North Carolina's
Eagles.
played tougher opponents so far in South Carolina and App State. I think we're just going straight up in this one. Yeah,
it's a
I'm going to
closer
go North
spread.
Carolina. Yep.
Northwestern at Duke. 20 is the spread. I'm conflicted on this one. I don't.
We're
know.
going spread. I'm going to go Duke because Duke absolutely
I think I
laid
have
the
to
hammer
also.
last week, and
I think I have to
and they
also.
smoked Clemson at home. I have not seen Northwestern play yet. I just know what I knew from the Rutgers game, and is why I picked UTEP against them last week. But I think Duke's going to cover that spread.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Western Michigan, Iowa, 26.5 is the spread. Western Michigan to cover. Iowa can't score.
Iowa can't score 26 points.
Can't do it.
When is Vegas going to figure it out? Even though half of Western's team plays in the Big Ten now, there's no way. I will not pick Iowa to cover a spread until they can consistently score more points than the spread is.
Yeah, no, I agree. Virginia Tech travels to Piscataway to play Rutgers. I'm going Rutgers. I don't think Virginia Tech's very good, to be honest with you.
No, I think I picked Purdue last week at my Tech. At least I did in my preseason.
Rutgers is all right. They're well coached.
I picked Rutgers in this. They're well coached. I did pick Rutgers to start off 3-0, so I'm going to stick with that. I think that they'll beat Virginia Tech.
Ohio State versus the Hilltoppers. 27.5 is the spread here. Western Kentucky's been sneaky good the last 10 years, really. I mean, decent CUSA program. I just think 27.5. I think that's a lot but I think Ohio State opens it up this week a little bit. They need to be sharp going into Notre Dame. I think they cover it.
I think they cover that too.
Yeah, I think they'll blow them out.
If it was over 30, I'd say probably not. I realize 27.5 is not that far away, but.
All right. Well, this is an interesting one to me as well. Northern Illinois, the Fighting Rocky Lombardis, they travel to Nebraska. 14.5 is the spread. Northern Illinois already knocked off Boston College.
Who's not very good.
No, but neither was Nebraska. 14.5, Northern Illinois covers it. 14.5 points. Cover.
Nebraska wins, but I agree. Northern Illinois covers that.
Yeah. Oh, Michigan with another just doozy of a non-conference game against Bowling Green. 40.5 is the spread. They're not going to cover it. They're over 2.
No, they won't cover that. Bowling Green's not horrible. Bowling Green will cover 40.5. Michigan can't beat a bad UNLV or a bad East Carolina team by the spread. Why are they all of a sudden going to cover this
Right.
one? And it's not like they're tuning up for the next week because they play Rutgers the next week. So
Right.
and
At
then they
home.
play Nebraska.
Yeah. Syracuse, Purdue.
Syracuse is
obviously,
favored, I think, aren't
Syracuse, I think, is favored by 2.5. I'm going Boilers. They
I'm
have
going
blood. They want a revenge from last year. The last second touchdown by Syracuse to win that thing. Purdue wins at home. All right, Michigan State, Washington. We're going spread here. 16 is the spread. By golly, the Spartans cover that thing.
I think, despite what happened, given the switchover that happened, I just think, and then the 10th reunion from the 2013 Rose Bowl team.
There's a lot of factors.
I'm telling you, I not only think that they're going to cover that, I think they're going to find a way to win.
Can see it.
They could also lose by 40.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what team comes out.
I mean, kids, you don't know with the situation. And we'll get to it here in a minute, but the situation that they have to deal with, you don't know. You'd think that they can compartmentalize it. They spend more time with their position coaches anyway. Coach D is a stabilizing force. They all like Coach Barnett, as the interim head coach. So I just think they've got a bad taste in their mouth. But I will say this: shame on. I think it was like the Free Press or something. I saw a headline is like, "How far has Michigan State fallen that Washington is circled on the calendar?" First of all, Washington's now a Big Ten foe. Second of all, Washington, going into the preseason, was a top 15 team. Third, Washington beat up on Michigan State last year when Michigan State still had some hopes of having a good season. So what's wrong with circling that game? Just because we're not playing the schools of the deaf, dumb, and blind like Michigan, Freep, Michigan lovers, bunch of birdcage liner material. Give me a break. Like, ripping on Michigan State for circling that as a big game. When's the last time Michigan played a big out-of-conference game?
Crickets.
So, kiss my ass.
Notre Dame in 2018.
Right.
Literally.
Bite me.
All right, last one. Lions, Seahawks. 2-0. Motor City Kitties.
Yeah, I mean, K9 had a decent game
Lions
yesterday for the Seahawks,
out.
but the Seahawks lost to the Rams pretty shockingly. We'll get to NFL and fourth down, but yeah, I think the Lions will win that game. It's at Ford Field. I don't think. The one thing I would say is a Lions team in the past that would have pulled off a win like they did against Kansas City. First of all, they didn't play the perfect game to get it. But second of all, that a team that in the past would have pulled that off would have laid flat the next week because they wouldn't have the coaching and the focus. And this team has the coaching and the focus. So Lions are going to win that game.
All right. Third down. Do you want to real quick run through the other hotspots, then we can dive into
then we'll
discuss
into
the elephant in the room.
All right, so first thing, how embarrassing for USA basketball.
Completely embarrassing.
Would they lose to? First, they lost to like Croatia.
Yeah,
then they lost to Germany.
Yeah, I mean that's completely embarrassing. I don't care if it was.
I would rather go back to the days where Bobby Knight coaches a bunch of college players and they lose with college players than with third string pros.
There's no incentive for these guys to play. So
and here's the thing: is USA basketball sucks because the brand of basketball in the NBA sucks. It's all ISO basketball. It's all pick and roll. There's no other movement to it. You get maybe a guy in the corner that can shoot. Nobody plays defense. It's not fundamental. It's stand around and watch, and it's look at what an athlete I am. Whereas the other countries still play fundamental, hard-nosed basketball. And I'm not knocking the pick and roll as a bad play, but like the two-man game, when it's a five-man game on the floor, doesn't work for me. And I think it's embarrassing for the United States for basketball. They don't care. And the problem is the mouthpieces and the spokespeople for USA basketball are people like LeBron. No wonder they don't care. Because they don't care about the names on the front of the jersey. They care about the names on the back of the jersey.
Yep.
So here's a question from Munna for mailbag this week. We got one from Mitchapalooza too, but I'm going to throw that in the NFL. I'm spreading his out. He sent us a bunch, but I don't want to do them all at one time and blow the wad at once. So Mitch, we're going to spread you over time, yeah. Why has football, this is from Munna, gone to more of a passing game than a running game?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I just feel like, the year of the quarterback. They always say that. I feel like every other year in the NFL draft is the year of the quarterback. as the game has evolved, I feel like I think it was 2017. It was the Patriots Eagles Super Bowl, and they all kept the only thing Collinsworth kept talking about was the RPO, the run pass option. That's when it kind of became a thing, for these coaches that run this spread style, read and react to the defense kind of thing, see what it gives you, and then you have the option to run pass, and it kind of evolved. And you see these young up and coming coaches that were former quarterbacks or receivers becoming offense coordinators, and they want to rip the ball around, and then Joe Brady kind of became that guy for LSU with Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow just torched NCAA records and probably had the best single season by a quarterback in college football history. That's when it kind of, in the college game, kind of was solidified, and then it was kind of brought to the NFL. Running backs aren't value anymore because they get hurt all the time, whatever. Quarterback's always been the most important position. Now it's even more so, and you need to be able to be athletic and be able to sling the ball. I just think it's just a custom to the pro game kind of evolving with the way plays were called because of philosophies and young up and coming guys wanting to have a change in the game and stuff like that. I think that's a big reason.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that guys are faster, they're stronger, in some cases they're bigger, and they're more athletic, and so you just want to spread out the field more, and you want to take advantage of that. Gone are the days where you had one or maybe two wide receivers in a set, and it was packing the line tight and then just seeing where you could win up front. I mean, don't get me wrong, winning up front is still huge. Offensive and defensive lines are still at a premium when you look at champions in both the pro game and the college game, no question, because a good quarterback is only as good as his blind side is protected, is only as good as the time that he has to get off a throw. But I think all of a sudden when you can kind of be put the defense at a disadvantage when you've got five options, whether it's out of the RPO or you just have a kind of a shotgun or the pistol look with the running back deep in the shotgun behind the quarterback, you can throw him out in the flat and use his speed and his skills as a running back and elusive. You can use your big receivers. You can use slot receivers that'll go across the middle. Now, granted, defensive players are just as athletic and so on and so forth as well, but I think when you can spread teams out, you're at a distinct advantage versus having to gain an advantage strictly on being stronger and meatier and beefier and more well-schemed up front. So I think one of the big reasons why passing is kind of overtaken running is because I think it's in some respects it's easier to pass. You can, you'll often see, like, I judge an offensive line on their ability to run block more than the pass block, because you don't have to do much if you have a decent quarterback in terms of pass block. You just have to kind of get the guy off his route and give the quarterback 4 or 5 seconds to throw the ball. Yeah. They're thrown to spots. The receivers know where they're going. The quarterbacks know where the receivers are supposed to be unless there's a miscommunication and something gets called wrong. I just think it's just such advantage offense to spread it out, and it's also advantage over the disadvantage. So meaning if your line is okay, you can get away with that and still be really good and compete against really good teams if you can spread the ball around to your athletes. There are a lot more, I would say, skilled receivers, even tight ends, and guys that play running back these days, I think are easier to find than big hoss offensive linemen. I think the hoss offensive linemen that give true running teams the advantage are not a dime a dozen. There's a reason why there was a day in the NFL when left tackles were at a premium in the first round, and that just doesn't happen that much anymore. Yeah, guys get drafted in the first round, a good guard here, a good center there, whatever, but you can find really good value for linemen now in the second and the third and the fourth round, and that's because there just aren't as many good ones. And the reason is because you don't need as many to scheme a good quarterback and good receivers. So I think the ability to spread the ball, put the defense at the disadvantage versus just we're going to smash mouth you and we're going to push you back further, and it's not a strength contest, you can cover a lot more sins that way.
As Breece Hall rips off a 90-some yard touchdown run. All right, elephant in the room, the biggest news, bear with me. like I said, there'll probably be some foul language.
We can't read the initial report for this was 1,200 pages.
We're talking about Mel Tucker here, suspended without pay, Michigan State coach. So, Cliff Notes, under investigation for Title IX sexual harassment. Article published like 1 a.m. on
by Shocker,
Sunday night.
ESPN.
ESPN, then USA Today come out with.
I think it was USA Today's story, but ESPN burned them on it and played it out first because that's how ESPN is, especially have a hard on against Michigan State that way.
Right, but I mean, this came out because Brenda Tracy went public with it, the defendant in this situation. So this lady, sexual assault, rape survivor, activist, that Mel Tucker befriended in air quotations, developed a relationship with. Weird stuff happens, turned into Mel Tugger. What a freak! I mean, this guy. I get it. Like, whatever happens in your personal life, whatever. First of all, I feel terrible for his family, but he says, "Oh, we were estranged for a long time." But he keeps saying that. That's BS. First and foremost.
I mean, we don't know that is BS, but the bottom line is you are a public figure making a $95 million contract. You just need to use better judgment.
There's no judgment.
Like, I get it. People do personal stuff that's not on the up and up all the time. I get it. People are human. We're sinners. We're not mistake free. I understand that. By itself, this would not be a fireable offense. But the problem is he lied about it. And I'm telling you, because of what happened with Nasser, there's just an association to that. Is that right? No, because I believe in due process. This is not a court of law type of thing. It's Title IX, sexual harassment. It's not sexual assault. This was not a physical thing. This was a non-consensual phone sex is what it came down to, which is really bizarre and weird, but whatever.
In the exchanging of gifts, whatever.
And the thing is so I've got a bunch of notes on this.
Well, how about this? So, if anyone didn't see it earlier, Tucker had his explanation from his lawyer, doubling down that he's innocent, none of it's right, it's consensual, all this stuff. Not long ago at 8:02, Brenda Tracy has a statement regarding it. Says this is just more of the same. Darvo. What the hell does that mean?
Drevel.
DARVO. That's it says in caps. That is. Deflection, victim blaming, and lies that I've been dealing with now for months. Coach Tucker has been delaying and trying to stop the investigative process since the beginning. He can't afford to go to a hearing that determines credibility of the participating parties. I believe the statement is the way of getting out of participating in the hearing. October 5th and 6th, I will be present for the hearing and make myself available for cross-examination by his attorney, Jennifer Belleville. I invite him to do the same.
So, look, this is all I'm going to say about her, because I'm not all about victim blaming. Read the initial story if you haven't already, and you tell me this is 5 times she's done something like this, and none of it has been either tried in the court of law and found to be true or whatever. So I'm not saying, but you draw your own conclusions. Both of them are idiots. And the thing is as Mike Valenti said today, so if you're not from the state of Michigan, or if you are and you're not familiar with Mike Valenti, he was a producer on the Dave Mad Dog DeMarco show when Tom Crawford and I formerly did Bitter Rivals together way back when. And we would go do a radio show with Mad Dog one day a week in Lansing, and Valenti was his fresh out of college producer. He has his own show now, 97 won the ticket in Detroit. I highly recommend it. He's really good at his job anyway, but he's a very passionate Michigan State guy too. He hits the nail on the head with this. And here's the thing. I'm going to read Mel's statement in a minute just because I think it's interesting. But like, he came out guns hot today because of course everybody's going to deny, right? Like both sides always are going to deny, and they're going to say, nope, it was the other person, it's the other person. Bottom line is he's done at Michigan State.
He's screwed.
Michigan State, and for anybody who knee-jerked, The Athletic is one of them. If you ever thought you're going to entice me with your $1 a month for 12 months to come back, when one of our own former, Chris Vanini, talks about how Michigan State screwed up that press conference and whatever yesterday. They did it the right way. They didn't know because this was a Title IX investigation. It was quiet until the defendant leaked it, and then their hand was forced. So I think Michigan State, especially the president, Haller probably could have done a little bit better job, but clearly this is his first time of having to deal with something of this magnitude. The president, I thought, did a really good job. She came out with a letter today to alumni. I've not gotten that yet, but I've heard it from a couple of people that said this is not the Michigan State of old. I think Michigan State handled this the right way. Making Harlan Barnett the coach, the only other difference I think could have been if they made it Courtney Hawkins. That was what I was alluding to before. If you got to find a way to keep him. He might not be ready to be a head coach, but man, I've got a lot of respect for Hawk, and I think the players do too. And if you want to save guys from when he eventually does get fired, which, by the way, don't expect that to happen for a while, because as soon as he gets fired, guys can hit the portal. And I think Michigan State is going to do everything in its power to save some of this really good young talent that they have in-house and not have to start all over from scratch. But I think, generally speaking, Haller and the interim president did a good job. The PR is never perfect, but it was way better than how they handled Nasser. They're circling the wagons well, and I'm telling you, brilliant move to have Coach D, who's going to be back in town this week anyway, come back,
Godfather of Michigan State
put on the
football.
headset, and be a part of it as a stabilizing factor. The worst thing anybody can say about him could be said about every coach in America. Neil, if you listen to my podcast, I'm talking about you. Your excuse that, well, Michigan State's going to go get a guy who knowingly recruited a sexual assault, a guy who committed a sexual assault and then he did it again when he got on campus, spare me. You don't think that happens at Michigan and Penn State and Ohio State and everywhere else. I'm not saying that it's right, but coaches are also in the business of turning lives around. And I don't know that situation from, whenever that was, 2016 or whatever. Unfortunate situation. I'll give that to you. Happen again. The guy's a criminal. He's in jail. But unless you've been a coach, and I can even speak to it from being a freshman basketball coach who gave a particular puke in the Rockford area umpteen chances. I'm not going to name any names, but like umpteen chances to kind of get it together. That's because that's what you do as a coach. So spare me the argument that, well, you just brought back a guy that blah, blah, blah. Kiss my ass.
He's the greatest
Kiss
coach
my
in
ass.
the history of the
Harbaugh
school.
stood up for Schembechler, who stood up for a doctor that was raping men and boys on that campus for years, and Michigan got nothing for it. So spare me that. I think Michigan State did a really good job. I think having D'Antonio comes back stabilizes things. I think he can kind of show Barnett the ropes. It kind of almost tells me that they really want to make this a tryout for Barnett to give him a chance because he's a Michigan State guy. He played with Haller at Michigan State. He's been around before. He's left and come back, so he's had that, gone and come back experience. He's been a DC somewhere. Like, he gets it. And I think D'Antonio can kind of show him the ropes. Look, why Michigan State just didn't give D'Antonio the kind of budget that he has for coaches that Tucker got and everything to begin with.
Done it, but
I don't know if he would have, but whatever. I have zero problem with that. So I think that they handled it well. I thought that they learned their lesson and they got that presser a lot more correct. Was it perfect? No. The media would argue, well, you left us to interpret your things because you didn't answer. They didn't know a whole lot then. You can't say a whole lot then. It still is an investigation where you're not going to respond to the allegations. You just legally can't do that. And the media knows that. They're just looking for ways to bitch about not getting questions answered. So I think, generally speaking, Michigan State handled itself very well. Again, Valenti, take a listen to that take. Title IX stuff's really confidential. Michigan State is just not in a place to respond to the particulars of the case right now. They didn't know the depth of the details because the case is supposed to be sealed. Ignorance is bliss when it comes to the media. They don't get their question answered, then they're gonna rail and they're gonna create their headlines and they're gonna create their whatever. So this is what I do. I don't read it. Generally speaking, minus to react to it on the podcast, I don't listen to it because I don't want their opinion. Give me the facts in this case. I see the facts on Mel's side. I see the facts on the ladies' side. I think both sides are screwed up. I think both sides are in the wrong.
Yep.
And the bottom line is Mel Tucker is not going to coach.
No, his ass is grass.
He's not going to coach at Michigan State again.
No, he shouldn't. No.
Because Michigan State, and smartly too, there's the morality clause, right? Like, I'm going to read his statement in a minute because there's something in there that's going to.
And you don't have to pay his dumbass. You can get
Right.
$80 million. You don't have to pay him.
And we'll see. Like, how is Michigan State going to respond to this? How are the players going to respond? How do recruits respond? A lot of it has to do with what's going to happen over the next couple weeks. I have one question. Why does Michigan State take a beating on things like this over and over and over again? But Michigan, with their case, that happened over 40 years. Ohio State, with their case, that was like 30, 40 years, don't. Penn State took a beating. I mean, Joe Pop basically died because of that situation. Now, was he in the wrong? Did he know things and not say anything? I think so. But regardless, Michigan State, Penn State, absolute media whipping boys. Ohio State and Michigan not for the same basic things. And worse, really, in this case, we're talking about a dude who spanked his monkey on the phone with some ugly girl. Okay? That's the bottom line of what happened. That's the worst of what happened, and then he lied about it.
Yeah. Out of the school.
And yet, you would think that he was Nasser 2.0 compared to what went on at Michigan, what went on at Ohio State with the doctor that was fondling men's buttholes for years.
Yeah.
Like, I have a real problem with ESPN picking and choosing which schools they're going to smear. And in certain schools getting away with it. I'm sure it happens elsewhere. Obviously, we're more privy in this area to it. It's that part is disgusting to me. And Michigan fans, keep your mouth shut because your coach is a cheater who's suspended because he cheated and he lied about it. So what he did is an NCAA violation. What Mel Tucker did was a violation of morality and was just a violation of trust with his wife. And he's just a dumbass. Okay. So even to put him apples to apples, don't come at me with it because I will drive you to the ground like a January 6th advocate because you're wrong. You're stupid if that's your excuse. All right, so I'm gonna read this because I think there's a lot of telling pieces in here. So this is Mel Tucker's statement after all the stuff that went on. Brenda Tracy's allegations of harassment are completely false. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's what he says. Of course, he's going to leave that. The proceedings initiated by Ms. Tracy are devoid of any semblance of fairness for any matter of this importance, and the university's, quote, hearing scheduled for October 5th through 6th is so flawed that there is no opportunity for the truth to come out. That is why I share some truth with you now. Okay, so hearing is in quotes. I did air quotes. You can't see me do that on a podcast. That's audio only. So that's his first shot at Michigan State. I helped bring Ms. Tracy to campus in the summer of 2021 because I support her mission of sexual misconduct prevention. This single presentation was her only paid engagement with the university. We developed a mutual friendship that grew into an intimate adult relationship. At this point, my wife and I had been estranged for a long time. What long time is that? Days, weeks, months? I don't know. Ms. Tracy and I engaged in dozens of calls throughout fall 2021 and winter 2022, many of which she initiated and which occurred late at night. We both talked about all sorts of intimate, private matters. She told me I could trust her, and I proceeded to do just that. I was absolutely unaware of the previous negative comments that she had made about iconic MSU coaches, then President Engler, MSU in general, even her more recent criticism of Coach Harbaugh that I learned about during this investigation. I don't even know what that's referring to. It must have been on the original story. So
he backtracked.
So first of all, here's your big thing is trust her. Okay, so again, she's done this 5 times before, Mel. Do you think maybe the fact that you get paid $95 million a year and can help fund her continued crusade might have, duh. Okay, that's just my sidebar. The 1,200 pages of investigation materials that Ms. Tracy released to the media contain a number of important facts that any fair-minded person would want to know in evaluating the situation. Even the investigator hired by the university found that we had a, quote, personal relationship and that we shared, quote, deeply personal and private information with each other. Ms. Tracy encouraged our personal relationship by inviting and accepting gifts from me. During the investigation, Ms. Tracy admitted requesting and accepting my gift of expensive athletic shoes, a $200 Venmo payment, and a personal contribution to her nonprofit. Not only did she accept those gifts, but she had to provide me her shoe size and address to receive the shoes and her Venmo ID to receive the money. Yes, I did have a late-night intimate conversation with Ms. Tracy in April 2022. Again, as even Ms. Tracy's statements to the investigator confirmed, this conversation had nothing to do with the university and was outside of the scope of Title IX or any university policy.
But,
by the way, while press reports have called this a Title IX investigation, that's inaccurate. The university admitted there is no Title IX jurisdiction, so the investigation of my private life was relegated to an alleged policy violation. No, that's called the morality cause.
and guess what, Mel? You, on your little tugging escapade down
We're
in
at
Florida, you were
Michigan
on
State,
Michigan
which you
State's
lied about.
dime.
Yeah.
And you lied about where you were.
While I am saddened by Ms. Tracy's disclosure of the sensitive nature of the call, let me be perfectly clear. It was entirely mutual, private event between two adults living at opposite ends of the country. She initiated the discussion that night, sent me a provocative picture of the two of us together, suggested what she may look like without clothes, and never once during the 36 minutes did she object in any manner, much less hang up the phone. Following the call, it was not until 4 months later, only after Ms. Tracy's next paid presentation was postponed, and only after I complained to her that she and her assistant were spreading rumors about my marriage, which you just said was estranged, that she ever told anyone, including her therapist, best friend, or attorney, that she was offended by the call. In fact, she gave me every indication that everything was fine. She sent me a, quote, Happy Father's Day text 2 months after the call and repeatedly expressed a desire to return to Michigan State, telling my assistants that she had a close relationship with me. Also, contrary to her allegations, I never canceled any presentation. Given a personal change and scheduling challenges as football season approached, we merely postponed it until January 2023. She chose to file her complaint instead of proceeding with the training. The investigation has not been fair or unbiased. I can only conclude that there is an ulterior motive designed to terminate my contract based on some other factor, such as a desire to avoid any Nasser taint or my race or gender. Now, taint, not like you think I thought I meant. Not the, what was that line from the movie, whatever. Anyway, I digress. So there's your first not veiled but very clear shot at Michigan State. The investigation by Michigan State has not been fair or unbiased. I can only conclude that there is an ulterior motive designed to terminate my contract based on some other factor, such as desire to avoid any Nasser taint or my race or gender. Well, gee, Mel, I wonder why Michigan State wants to avoid another Nasser situation. Riddle me that one, you dumbass. And as far as your race has nothing to do with the fact that
he's
you're
going to bring it into it.
You're stupid. You admitted to jerking off on the phone to an ugly girl. Like, you're stupid. You did, and then you lied that you did. You pulled the Jim Harbaugh. You lied and said you didn't do it. I miss you. Like, and you know what? You broke the morality clause, and it's clear. It's in your contract. Like, put on your reading glasses and read it. You broke the morality clause, and that is why Michigan State will fire you. Okay, so I continue. Here's another shot at Michigan State. The sham, quote, hearing scheduled for October 5th, 6th is ridiculously flawed and not designed to arrive at the truth. For example, in this Zoom hearing, 1, neither Ms. Tracy nor any of her witnesses will be required to testify under oath or penalty of perjury. 2, we cannot present any or offer any substantive evidence of innocence. And 3, there is no opening statement, closing argument, or any opportunity to explain our case. This, quote, hearing process was obviously designed for student infractions, not to address personal private acts between adults in which disclosure of intimate details impact one's reputation and career. I have no intention of allowing Mrs. Tracy's character assassination to go unaddressed. I get it, Mel, what you're saying there. And on the surface, you're right. What you do in your personal time doesn't matter, but you don't get personal time because you're a $95 million state employee because you work for a state university. So as soon as you made that lapse in moral judgment, you screwed yourself and the university. Yeah. Ms. Tracy's attorney told us from the very beginning that I should not lose my job over her allegations, but that it would take a lot of money to make it go away. And that's pretty damning. Her twisting of our personal relationship months after it concluded is designed to revive her career and destroy my life, precipitated by her greed. One of the most absurd allegations by Ms. Tracy is that if our relationship and associated facts went public, only she would be harmed, not me. As the world can see, quite the opposite is true. I have been ripped from the team that I love without any meaningful opportunity to tell my side of the story other than this press release. I am incredibly proud of the outstanding group of men on the team, and my heart aches to be sidelined. I ask everyone to consider carefully the undisputed facts outlined and reserve judgment until the full truth comes out. So, them's fighting words from a guy who knows that he's gone, right? Like, he's either going to get fired over the morality clause, or Michigan State's going to say, look, you want this to go away, we want this to go away. Here's $5 million. Thank you for your time. GTFO. That's
the hell out of here. Never
that's
come back.
and Michigan State can move on. And then the question becomes, and now I will say this, I put this in my notes. Never say never. I mean, look at Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. So Ryan, give me your take, and then we don't have to spend a lot of time today because we're already at an hour, but like on coaching candidates for this gig.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you my list that I have created here. So this is just a rough list, no particular order. Actually, this is my top guy, Mike Elko, Duke's coach. He's young. He's like 50, really good. He has Duke turned around. If you can coach at Duke, you can sure as hell coach at Michigan State. Brian Hartline, offensive coordinator, Ohio State. Young, great recruiter. He has no head coaching experience. You got to have offensive-minded guy, or at least someone that's innovative as your head coach in today's college football, or else you die. I also would like to see Chris Kleeman's name. He's Kansas State's coach. He's really good. Jason Candle, Toledo's coach, younger guy, offensive-minded. Bill O'Brien, Patriots offensive coordinator. I don't know if he would do that. I feel like he might be next for the Patriots, but maybe. Jonathan Smith, Oregon State's coach, younger guy. Oregon State's going to be in the freaking Mountain West. He went there, so he might not leave, but wouldn't mind it. Garrett Riley, Clemson's offensive coordinator, was at TCU last year. Would probably be a really good recruiter. And then this is among other names, but yeah, I don't know.
Regardless, you got to find a way to keep Hawk. I think Hawk and Barnett are going to be your two stabilizing influences. Michigan State guys, you need a connection to the past. Whomever it is that comes in next, I think you've got it. Those are your two primary guys you got to keep on your staff.
Yeah, the D'Antonio thing. Him and Izzo are the two greatest Spartans of all time. Dino's pulling the Barry Alvarez, Bob Stoops interim thing that they've done at their schools where they coach for a long time. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great move. And to answer the question that was asked me yesterday, no way that D'Antonio only knew yesterday morning. I don't believe that to be true. I think he did not know. I don't think Mel might have called Haller at 1:30 Saturday night, Sunday morning when this stuff broke and told him his side of the story. But because of the way the investigation was going, I don't think Coach D knew. And I think Haller picked up the phone and said, "Can you help us?" And Coach D said, "I'm in." Because bat signal, just like the thing that was sent out. So, yep. All right, a lot more. We'll see what happens, in the coming days, weeks, months. I'm sure more will come out.
I'm sure Mel will come too.
There's going to be a lot of fighting back and forth, and there's already the war of words. And look, the sooner Michigan State can get rid of him, but without screwing the entire football program and screwing themselves out a lot
He's
of money.
He's going to try to drag him down with him, though. That's
better.
The issue.
Now a word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that best fits your needs and makes the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients over 30 plus years in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
All right.
NFL, baby.
You already touched on it a little bit. We'll start with the Lions. Did not play the perfect game. Still win against the defending Super Bowl champs. I'm so proud of them. Defense looked fantastic. Offense had moments. Chiefs kind of had a decent, weird game plan. Lions looked the part. We'll see if they can continue and keep it rolling. I think they will next week, and hopefully can turn into an NFC North crown for the first time since the early 90s.
Yeah, we said this last week. Like, the Lions have more talent on their roster than they have in a long time.
Way more.
Their O-line, their D-line are good, and their young talent was really good in that game, too, between Gibbs.
Oh, yeah.
With Laporta, looks really nice.
Laporta, Campbell. Branch had a pick six.
Yeah, I mean, their four main rookies did really well. Like, here's just the notes that I took during the game. I mean, not a surprise, but they fake inside their own 20 on the second drive of the game.
Gambling man.
I will say, early at least, the third down defense still leaves a lot to be desired, but they shored that up as the game went on. Rookies we just talked about were very good. As much as you all know that I'm not a Hutch lover because of Michigan, guy. He has got a motor. He gets upfield a little bit too much at times, but he was strong. Like, he had a lot of pressures. He makes a difference, so much so that the right tackle for Kansas City was false starting and illegal amount of guys in the backfield on every damn play. And he was a tell, because if it was a run play, he was actually up close on the line of scrimmage. And that was a big testament to Hutch, who they can move inside out. Goff is really great in the intermediate game. I mean, he makes some great passes in the intermediate game. Will he be able to stretch the field if Jameson stays healthy and can catch the ball? Maybe. That's probably something that's lacking. But, I mean, minus Marvin Jones having a dud of a game, Goff is really strong in the intermediate game. I think he's third all time in
most passes without a pick.
Yeah, in the streak for that, which is pretty remarkable. No respect from the refs on pass interference calls, holds, trips, the false starts. I mean, ridiculous. That's inexcusable what their right tackle was getting away with. I mean, you can't move like that without it being a penalty. You can't line up that way without being a penalty, and yet it wasn't a penalty until very late in the game. Generally speaking, though, hey, I just wanted the Lions to compete as a Lions fan, and the good news is they didn't even play a flawless game. They didn't play a great game. They played a good game, but it didn't take a great game to beat a great team. Did Kansas City miss Kelsey? Of course they did. Did they miss Chris Jones? Yeah, they did. But their defense was decent. They did definitely miss Kelsey, and they were helped out by drop passes. But you know what, Tirico? Shove your asterisk up your whatever Italian ass, because that happens in games. That's called football. That's called sports.
Yep.
One of the other games I wanted to talk about, how about Packers first? First kicker other than Crosby since 2006 in a game for them. First different starter at quarterback other than Favre and Rodgers since I was a sophomore in college, 1992.
That's crazy.
And they looked good while the Bears still looked like hot garbage.
The Bears suck. I mean, the NFC North sucks. I'm sorry. I mean, the Packers are decent, but is that really...
Cousins throws for 344. He gets blindside sacked and fumbles it. Okay, so you can kind of blame that on him, but it was also bad offensive line. Bad center exchange with him. That was the backup center's fault. An interception goes to him where the receiver dropped it into the hands of the defender. He throws for 344, has a great game with Jefferson, and they lose to Tampa Bay.
Bengals. Joe Burrow looked awful.
It signs the most lucrative contract in NFL history, and then goes out and throws 88 yards passing.
Yeah, that was bad.
A lot of 1-point games. Denver still lost.
Yeah, Denver lost. Jags looked decent against Colts. Anthony Richardson actually played pretty dang well.
Dolphins looked pretty damn good on the road.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill said he's going to get
Rams are dinged
yards.
up to hell and really young, and they looked good against the Seahawks.
Beat the Seahawks.
Niners looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Eagles looked good early, but then had to hang on late.
Suspect, yeah.
Giants were,
woof.
damn son with the Cowboys. Like, they just absolutely destroyed them.
Getting back to the Dolphins, Tagovailoa 466, 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill 215 yards on 11 catches. Whoa.
AFC East is loaded because the Patriots didn't look half bad against the Eagles.
Yeah.
You got the Jets Bills playing now. It's 10-3 Bills, and Rodgers is who knows.
He's out for the game, ankle injury.
The
Ravens get more hurt again, which sucks. Dobbins out for the season again.
Running backs, they've been losing left and right.
The Titans stink. There's a lot of teams that just stink. The Panthers stink. The Vikings aren't good. The Titans suck. I don't think the Saints are very good. Steelers looked awful. The Cardinals are just abysmal. Texans, not good. Bears, bad. Seahawks look bad. Giants, bad. It's tough sledding out there for those teams, and it's hilarious. Pride of Detroit's SB Nation, they write for the Lions. They wrote an article about former Lions on new teams, and the two most high-profile guys, why'd the Lions get rid of Swift and Williams? They were really good, and you give up them to get Montgomery and Gibbs. STFU, pal, because Jamal Williams had 18 carries for 40 yards, and DeAndre Swift touched the ball 3 times and had negative yards.
Yeah, those two, Montgomery and Gibbs, are a
great 1-2 punch. Great 1-2 punch. Gibbs, you see him go. He plays receiver. They put him in motion. He's a gadget. He's literally he's a He's a hell of a player.
He's fast, he's pretty big, and he's shifty.
Yeah.
And Montgomery's a good blocker. He can chip on the blitz, and
The Lions are well set up to succeed. Yeah, but I am ecstatic about this NFL season. It's going to be fun. Big one on Thursday night already for the Vikings. Trying to avoid going 0-2, playing the Eagles.
We'll see how Kirk does in the prime time.
That's about all I have for NFL.
Yeah, well, we got the Mitchapalooza question of the week, and that's, should the NFL get rid of divisions within each conference and adopt the NBA format of the best, in their case, NBA is more than 7, but best 7 teams from each conference make the playoffs?
I like that, Mitch. I've never thought of that.
I agree. I think so, because if you think about it, like, you get a reward for winning your division because you had the best record against the other teams in your division, But
what year?
Look at the NFC North.
What year was that? 2 years ago when the NFC East, like 6-10, won the division,
right? Or like the NFC South is pretty bad. The NFC North minus the Lions. I mean, maybe the Packers will be better, but because here's the thing: is if the Lions, let's just say, went 12-5 and obliterated the rest of the North, they should get in the playoffs anyway, right? Like the best teams are going to get in the playoffs that way anyway. I don't think it matters as much anymore because the conference, the divisions only matter for scheduling purposes because then you can kind of keep rivalries like. Nobody wants to see the Packers and the Vikings not play. Nobody wants to see the Packers-Bears or Packers-Lions or Bears-Lions not play. Like, those are rivalries, or Giants-Cowboys or Redskins-Cowboys or whatever. Like, in the AFC East, the Patriots and the Bills and the Patriots and the Jets. Like, I think you keep divisions for that sake, but yes, I think the 7 best teams should get in the playoffs. I don't think you should be rewarded for winning a crappy division.
Yep.
You just shouldn't. Like, There's no reason for it. And you know what? Then if one division happens to be stacked and somebody gets left out just because, the third best team in a division goes, let's say 10-7, but they don't get in the playoffs because the winner of the AFC or NFC South went 9-8, that's not fair.
No.
So, Mitch, I completely agree with you. I think they should adopt that. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them do that because obviously they expanded the playoffs because of COVID, and it worked and they kept it. I think that's the next logical step. Just get the 14 best teams in the playoffs because you don't need to keep expanding the playoffs. That's the solution. Is you don't need to expand the playoffs at all if you don't make it about the division winners. Like same in baseball. Like if the AL Central sucks, why should any of them make it? Right. They're not one of the best teams just because they beat more crappy teams in their division over time. So I think all sports should go that way, to be honest.
I like it. All right, we good on NFL?
We're good on NFL.
All right, sprint. All right, number 1 question. Best golf game you can play with your buddies for money?
Oh, man, you don't even ever bet with me. I like Wolf is a really good one. I mean, I'm good with just like a regular good old Nassau front back total. Skins. I mean, I think when you go on a golf trip, like greenies, snakes, you can get into some kind of fun games that way. Like Wolf was probably one of my favorite games that we used to play. That was kind of a fun one, I would say.
Yeah, I like that. It's just skins. I've played that before. Just keep it simple. What's worse, the Big Ten or the NFC?
Boy. Remains to be seen at this point in time. The Big Ten West is hot garbage, so I'm going to go Big Ten because of the Big Ten West.
I think the Big Ten as well. Will Mel Tucker ever be a head coach again?
No. I think he... this is my prediction. I think he settles probably, if not gets fired. I think he quietly ends up as a defensive backs coach or something like that in the NFL. Yep. And I think he makes his way back to being a coordinator in the NFL because the NFL doesn't care about that stuff. Like if this is just a personal thing, it's a severe lack of judgment, but like the fact that you lied about it and then it goes against the clause in your contract, that's what's going to get you fired. So I believe in second chances. I think somebody will give him a chance because he probably is a good good football coach when he's not the CEO.
Well, I've heard otherwise.
Well, when he's not the CEO. I think he's probably
Yeah.
a good coach as a position.
When he actually has to do stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll serve as an assistant. Maybe he'll go to the Nick Saban rehabilitation coaching clinic.
But he's not an offensive guy.
But Nick's getting older, so who knows how much longer he's going to be coaching.
Right.
Last one off our tailgate the other day. What's the best? If you had to put one topping on your taco, what would it be? Just one.
Oh, pico.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a little spicy salsa, a la the best spicy salsas at Trini's.
That is good.
Dynamite.
That is good. Yeah, for those keeping score, we had fried or Blackstone tacos last week as a GAM specialty, and they are.
We got some hibachi this week, so if you're in East Lansing, stop by the tailgate if you wanna have the little man pull out his pant, the little hibachi, the fire putter out or to pee in your mouth with some sake. Stop on by. That sounds really wrong, but. You'll know
we're going to call him Little Mel.
Yeah. Penis. All right. That's 139 of these. Let us know if you have any questions you want us to answer, any topics you want us to discuss in Hodgepodge.
Mitchapalooza, keep those questions coming.
Man, Mitch. Keep them coming. We appreciate it. All of our loyal listeners.
And Chris, we do have your...
I have
analysis. We just need to find a non-crazy story week to talk about it. So we will put that
next
in the list.
week, hopefully. Knock on Mel Tucker wood.
All right. Meantime, as George W. Bush said post 9/11, one of the worst days in American history saw some of the bravest acts in Americans' history. We'll always honor the heroes of 9/11.